I'm fairly certain we all know the topic that you want to
Yeah.
address. I want to make it very clear that this item is under investigation currently by the Department of Health. Council has been advised not to get into any back or forth discussions about this topic, but you are still free to say whatever you wish. So,
Okay.
Mr. Hicks, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, just before I say what I want to say about baby boxes, I just want to, again, I appreciate the way things are here. I mean, I come from a place where there's pretty hardcore politics going on all the time, and maybe it's happening here, I don't see it, but the thing that you have, ask questions of the council member that I came to on Saturday is fantastic. You know, these meetings, I know it's a council meeting and you go through stuff quick, but fantastic. The place is beautiful. Mr. Seaver figured out who I was because my college roommate was a guy named Chuck Lowball, and I had put in one of the emails to you that my college roommate was from Troy but now lived in Hilton Head, and he put it together. Well, there's only, I guess, a few people from Troy that he knew that lived in Hilton Head. So, I mean, you have a beautiful town. We're hanging out with my neighbors yesterday around the swimming pool and telling them we got to go up to Troy. And then I got to convince some of them and remind them that you have Dora also so that they can feel comfortable. They want to come up here. So I want to talk about baby boxes. And I talked to Chief Simmons a little bit before the meeting. And I think good people want the right things for women and for babies. And I think those of you that met me on Saturday, I said, you know, if you don't want to like me, that's fine, but get to not like me in person, okay, not based on reputation. And so I appreciate that. I think we all care here about babies, women, some of the societal issues that we face. And so I want to just give I'm not going to give the hour back and forth we had on Saturday. I'm going to just give a few minutes, but I just want to give, you guys probably know it, but I didn't know all this stuff, and I'll tell you real quick how I got involved and about the history of Safe Haven. And before I did, I got involved because my township got a box, and I was confused as why there was no fundraising, and that's what caused me to start looking into things. And that's kind of led me down the path I'm on. But just a real quick Safe Haven history that people might not know is I believe in Ohio, somebody might know more exact than me, but it's existed for about 20 years. So Safe Haven has been legal for 20 years at any fire station, any police station, or any hospital. Okay, I believe it also applies if I handed a 30-day or under baby to a uniformed officer on the street. The law is that extensive. I found in my township and other places, not only had it never been promoted, but I don't believe our fire department or police department even had any procedures in place for what they would do if somebody showed up. It's never happened in my township that this has happened. So that's just a real quick history of Safe Haven. And I'm going to show some examples later, but it kind of makes you wonder, when whoever passed Safe Haven 20 years ago, why didn't they do something like have every fire station, police station, and I'll turn around so people can see it, and a hospital put a sign like this up on the wall? And this sign for people back here, can see it, I'll hold it up. It says you can confidentially surrender your baby up to 30 days old at any police station, fire station, or hospital. Need help, call Help Me Grow at 1-800, I'll talk about that in a second, and closest hospital. And I didn't bring it in, but there's another version of this that I showed you guys at the meeting that's for an actual Safe Haven location. And says things like, on it, if you come up to a fire station, ring bell, get somebody, okay? You wonder, you hear these stories, and a lot of this is based on emotion and horrible stories that should never happen, but fortunately are actually very rare that they happen. You know, somebody left a baby outside the fire station, they froze to death. Well, did that fire station have a sign on it that said, if you're here to surrender a baby, ring bell? Did it have a bell? You know, did it have some way that somebody would know what to do? So what I found is that people outside of our area that have had Safe Haven, there's parts of the country that have had Safe Haven a lot longer than we have, is that they actually see Safe Haven as ultimately something they don't want to have happen. Safe Haven is a hook to raise awareness so that women get information prior to the need. So I started thinking about, what do you want to have happen? I don't know who has, you don't have to raise your hands, I'm going to ask this rhetorically, but you know, who has a daughter? I have one kid, a son. I know your fire chief has one as well, from talking to him before the meeting. But what do we want to have happen? If I had a daughter, okay, I don't have a daughter, but frankly, I think I can comprehend this. and she was in a unplanned pregnancy situation. I want it to be destigmatized that she comes forward, gets proper prenatal care, has a proper medical delivery, learns about all of her options. That, by the way, I'm very pro-life, so don't take that as meaning anything beyond pro-life. That she learns her options like open adoption, okay, which I never knew this stuff because I never investigated that much till recently, but open adoption is the in vogue thing to do now where there's still a connection between the birth mom and the baby. But to come forward, knows her options like custody arrangements while she gets her life together. Custody arrangements like putting the baby legally with mom or grandma or a relative or in the foster program with an intent to, when she gets her life together, to come get her baby back. So I think that's what we would want to have happen. Come forward. What don't we want to have happen? Well, I'm going to actually use an example because I think at your meeting somebody mentioned this example, Skylar Richardson. How many people have heard of Skylar Richardson? So Skylar Richardson, I think, I've been digging, and I'm glad to have somebody correct me, but I'm looking, when's the last time that we had one of these really horrific abandonment type situations? And at least in this area, I think Skylar Richardson stands out. It can get confusing because a lot of times the court cases and the events are very far removed from each other, so when did it actually happen? So Skylar Richardson, I think, was in Warren County, and was a person that had, young woman, she's still somewhere, I wish her the best, had mental health issues, anorexia issues, bulimia issues, found out she was pregnant when her mom took her to get birth control, and I guess she only got informed because she was of a certain age, didn't tell anybody, ended up not getting any prenatal care, not coming forward, having a stillborn baby in her bedroom, and burying it in the backyard. So people sometimes bring up that case. Well, what about the Skylar Richardson case? So I think that's a good case to bring up because it's the example of stigmatization and somebody not coming forward to get proper care. And that's not just baby care. It can be mental health care, other medical care. So what I have found, and the reason why I've gotten so passionate about this, is that there's a company, Safe Haven Baby Box. It's the sole provider of baby boxes. I think when the legislature introduced baby boxes, they thought that some manufacturer would make a baby box and they would sell it. Not that a company would effectively be a marketing company that's very out there, very high pressure, that is now monetized Safe Haven into a $10,000 a pop proposition and has a goal of putting baby boxes in every firehouse, in every police station, to make millions of dollars from Ohio. If you know the history, the company has about 120 boxes, about 90 of them are all in Indiana. Okay, the rest are scattered. I think there's 7 in Ohio. There's a couple that have not been activated in Ohio. And I found that when I asked questions, I got demonized, attacked. There's in the handout that I gave you guys, she put out videos that I followed her to her bathroom, which is complete nonsense. Just absolutely really ridiculous, over-the-top lies. And I had never seen something like this. Somebody who's supposedly pro-life, the people I know, I have a very close state representative friend named Tom Brinkman, who is super pro-life. And I told him, Tom, I've never seen somebody that's pro-life that acts this way. Attacks and demonizes people for asking the most basic questions. So that's why I got involved, is because I think that in Ohio, we should fix this, but we should fix it right. And the first thing is not that we need to start spending millions of dollars across the state on baby boxes, but that we need to put signs on every fire station, police station, and hospital to raise safe haven awareness. We need to put signs on other places. And now my friends are giving me all kinds of ideas. They should be on, and where I live, they should be on municipal court. They should be at the jail. They should be in high schools. They should be everywhere to raise that awareness. Now, as it comes to your box, Councilman Sievert in the meeting, in the Meet the Council Member, or Ask Questions of the Council Member thing, asked me, what would you do? And as you might know, I went back to that station, to the station, and looked at it. It's a beautiful station. All your stuff here is unbelievably beautiful. I went back to that station and looked around. I filmed some stuff about all the things wrong with that box. And people might not realize the rules aren't just, you look at a rule like external, internal. Why does that matter? Who cares? Well, the point of external is supposed to be that a woman never has to enter a building to surrender a baby. that our act of going through the door into a building is an inhibitor to a woman in crisis surrendering a baby. That's why it says external. Why does the law say that there needs to be somebody there 24/7? The 9/11 alarm is supposed to be a backup fail-safe. It's supposed to be that when you're committing to a baby box, you're committing that if somebody puts a 30-day or younger newborn in that box, there is going to be somebody there to render immediate medical aid. That's why I think the boxes should start in hospitals, not in police stations and not in fire stations, so the baby gets right to where that immediate aid is available. So your box, I know the camera, and she's going to, Miss Knight responded to something today and is going to get me some video from there. It's like, well, there's a camera, but it doesn't pick up the door. But there is a camera right above where the door is coming into the fire station there. Okay, it's clearly inside. You go into a ventilated place with a phone on the wall. It's not outside. It's not external. Okay, it got there, it got implied in the media, and I know people make mistakes, and it is what it is, but it got implied in the media last week that ODH had somehow given approval and then they retracted their approval. No, they don't. They base their approval on an attestation of a compliance form that is submitted, where you sign off on it, that says it's in compliance with the Ohio Revised Code and the Ohio Administrative Code. The internal, external, that's one of the most obvious. It's like 4 times in both the Revised Code and the Administrative Code that it has to be external, it has to be accessed from the outside of the building, so on and so forth. So there's issues with that box, and I happened to drive out the fire station too, because you asked me what did I think. I drove around that station, the one you have it at now, I think is a big problem because there's a parking lot around most of it, and it's visible. It doesn't provide anonymity or low visibility or privacy for somebody who was surrendering a baby. And I went out to fire station 2, which maybe the back of it or something would be a better location. But, really, why wouldn't you think about that it should be at the hospital? That it should be someplace where there's going to be an immediate care person there. So that's what I would do. That's what I would do is I'd say, can we move this to the hospital? I am not against baby boxes, okay? I think they should be at hospitals to start, and I think that we should have awareness to start on fire stations, police stations, and hospitals that don't have boxes, okay? And we should strive in every way we can to make sure that, especially in a post-Roe v. Wade world, that we are trying to make sure that women that get into an unplanned pregnancy situation get proper prenatal care, proper safe medical delivery, that they know their options, and they can act on those options. So I thank you guys for letting me talk, and I just want to, before I can finish, I want to point out that I gave, and if anybody in the audience wants one, I have like 10 extra copies. I don't have 10 extra copies, I have like 5 extra copies. I gave you this handout. And the first page of the handout, and I'm getting fancy, I just learned today how to do a QR code, which is super simple. So there's QR codes on there so that you can see what I think are the problems with the locations in right now, and some code references right now. And a QR code, and you can watch the little 10-minute video I did on Saturday out there pointing out, here's what I think's wrong here. One of the things in that video is the forms. That box inside of it has a private baby registry form. The Safe Haven Baby Box Company contract, I just got your records, so they're almost always the same, the contracts. They're always the same. If yours was different, it would be uniquely different from the other ones. The contract requires you to disclose information on the baby to Safe Haven Baby Box if there's a surrender. I don't even think that's probably legal, that it's getting disclosed to a third-party company. That gets used, then also they push for a private baby registry. They use that to contact parents and try to get babies used in fundraising. So if you go, there's a link on here on the last page, you can actually watch a video of babies getting used in fundraising events. Okay, I'd ask anybody to think about that. Think about the morals and ethics of using babies in fundraising events that have been surrendered in a box. Okay, I put this page in here that has the box, it's actually a picture of your box, and it has some concerns. I've shared other versions, but I cleaned it up because I looked more close at your box, okay, of what's involved. And then I noticed you put in the bag of materials on the wall. If you guys haven't noticed this, historically Safe Haven Baby Boxes has a bag of materials inside the box. That's against the code. Why? Well, look at that bag. There can't be anything in the box that could be a choking, suffocation, or other hazard to a baby that gets put in that box. But they do it? You were doing it. Somebody probably getting nervous about somebody like me said, we better put it out on the wall, okay? So now it's on the wall. There's only one. I can't understand why Safe Haven Baby Box doesn't want there to be multiple copies so that a woman or a friend could take a copy of the materials with them and review them prior to making the decision of what to do. I mean, what kind of world is it that we wouldn't let the woman, the way it has been up until this bag, you guys you're the first place in Ohio that puts the bag outside the box. That's a pro. But to think that the woman doesn't even get the materials in the box until they've mentally made the commitment decision to open that door. I pointed out that in that bag, Safe Haven Baby Box didn't want the ODJFS voluntary surrender medical form. There's a form, anonymous voluntary medical form, where a woman, if you could get her to fill out, she'd check off like heart disease history, you know, da-da-da-da-da. That's now in the boxes because of me. After my township tried to get Dave Yost to have an opinion saying that those forms could be eliminated. I'm like, why would you not want that form to be there? But I want you to think about this. When I went there on Saturday and I took the paperwork out of that bag and I point out to people, there was no pen in the bag. So how's the woman supposed to fill the form out? She's supposed to make sure you bring a pen when you're surrendering your baby. I'll throw something else at you. What would happen if there was a pen? She opens the door, puts a baby in, door closes, door's locked, fills out the form. Where do I put it? What do I do with that form? I put a picture online too, and I'd encourage you to go down there, open the door. I didn't open the door because I'm afraid of getting arrested or something. But you open the door, look through it, it's like a lounge behind it. Like a bunch of recliners there. That'd be quite a surprise if you're a woman surrendering your baby, open the door and there's a bunch of people sitting in a lounge room watching you put your baby in a box in a clear bassinet. All of these things, you know, I apologize for going on so long, but I think I told you guys on Saturday, I saw a thing about mass school casualty events. And I thought it was very interesting. Somebody said, you don't see that many mass casualty school events in cities, in inner cities. I'm not talking about Troy. Because those schools are already hardened. They already have metal detectors. They're afraid that something could happen all the time, so they're on top of it. You see them at suburban schools. Why? Because suburban schools go through the motions, do all the training, do the drills, but they never think it's going to happen there, really. So when it does happen, that's where the response gets so screwed up, because they don't know, they never really thought, nobody really thought this was going to happen here, okay? And that's what I'm afraid about with these boxes. Only about 15% of the boxes have ever been used. Have ever been used. And there's some that for some strange reason have been used a lot of times. And so my thing is, okay, maybe it's not going to happen. Hopefully it never happens. But we damn well better be sure that the way we've set the boxes up is that if it does happen, it's thought through. It's not just a photo op. It's not just a political opportunity to get some votes. It's not just a virtue signaling statement. These are real people. And I'll tell you what, Mayor, I don't know you, you're a nice person, I'm sure. But in the video at the thing, you said you arranged the event so that I wouldn't be there. The aggressive guy from Cincinnati. You know who else wasn't there? I bet you a lot of young women weren't there. Because a lot of times when we're doing these things, we're not talking to the people we're trying to reach. We're talking to old people. What we need to be doing is talking to young women and young men who have just as much responsibility. And if we get a woman to come forward before the need, get proper prenatal care, proper medical delivery, hopefully the father can be involved too and take the responsibility. I can't imagine, I'm in a very clean living individual, and I can't imagine not taking responsibility. And I can't imagine stigmatizing things. And I'm telling you, boxes, there's a place for them. Okay, and typically that place is people that have, and I don't want to get into issues, but serious issues. Mental health issues, drug issues, other issues. Frankly, I'm not sure that boxes really solve that. Every box that's been put in a Safe Haven Baby Box is claimed by Monica Kelsey to have been healthy, which it doesn't make any sense. Does not make any sense. If these babies are being born in dorm rooms and cars, that they're coming in healthy into these boxes. But But, so that doesn't make any sense that that's happening. And ultimately, it's going to be on us, did we get to the right audience? Or do we just feel good? Did we spend $10,000 and think, problem gone? And I tell you what, in Troy, Ohio, I don't think where I live, if somebody asked me, do I think the box is ever going to get used? I would say, not in my lifetime, but it could. And if it does, if we've made the commitment as a government to have it, you better darn well make sure it's thought through, that it complies with the code, and that you don't demonize the Department of Health. By the way, the Department of Health is bureaucratic. I have no real connection there. They are what they are. They're a government agency. But they don't deserve to be demonized because of a form you guys submitted. So I appreciate, I understand you saying, Mr. Lutz, you're not going to talk about this. I think it'd be good to talk about it. I appreciated the free and frank discussion on Saturday. And I'd be glad to take any questions. And I don't know if that counts as talking about it, but is there any questions for me about anything I've talked about or presented?
Considering this is still under investigation, we would be advised not to engage in any dialogue, but we do appreciate your comments.
So then I just want to close with this. I appreciate that. But I've seen the dialogue from the city of Troy in the media. So you're standing right here, you're sitting right there, I'm sitting here, and I appreciate that. You're making the wise choice. But how did this already get in the media with people claiming ODH did something wrong? When frankly, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody here, including the chief. But the first step to fixing this is admitting, yeah, we did something wrong. From the meeting I had with the councilman at your asking councilman, it was my opinion that probably you guys weren't fully apprised of even what was going on. Where the money was come from, who reviewed the contract, what did the contract actually say, and it's a pretty serious thing. It's to me like school boards. School boards are real serious things because they have an effect on the future of our society more than this group does. And so I appreciate that you can't ask questions, you can't make comments, but I'm here tonight because, not because I went to the media, you guys went to the media. Probably because Monica Kelsey pressed you into going to the media. Because she's trying to bully code changes in Ohio with low information that are not in the best interest. They're in the best interest of her making millions of dollars selling $10,000 boxes. They're not in the best interest of Ohio, and they're not in the best interest of women in Ohio. So I appreciate you letting me talk for so long. I appreciate your attentiveness just based on your visual expressions, and I truly appreciate the beautiful town that Troy is, and that you care. You know, even people that might disagree with me on things, or might have, I'd like to think that people that disagree with me or thought I was a bad guy will now realize I'm not a bad guy. I'm trying to help solve the problem, not just for Troy, but for Ohio. Because I think it is just morally and ethically wrong that we would let some company come in here and bully us in Ohio to something that benefits them financially, not necessarily Ohio women. Thank you very much.